Now, look, if there is a tie, either Mike Pence or Kamala Harris will be the tiebreaker, and that's why things are so important. Democrats have maintained control of the House as well, but Republicans continue to pick up seats as votes continue to be counted. And in Georgia, that recount, the manual audit of the 2020 presidential race, will happen. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger announced yesterday that the state will recount millions of ballots cast, and they'll be recounted by hand. Raffensperger says because the margin is so close in Georgia, the recount will help build confidence. He also appeared earlier today on Newsmax TV. Now, currently, Joe Biden is in the lead. We'll see what happens, though. Something else to keep an eye on in Georgia, of course, those two Senate races headed for runoffs in January. Incumbent Senator GOP Republican Kelly Loeffler faces off against Minister Ralph Warnock. The other incumbent, David Perdue, a Republican as well, he is running against Democrat Jon Ossoff. Let's welcome in now Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. He also ran in that crazy 20-person special election against Kelly Loeffler. Congressman, great to see you as always.
It's always good to see you.
How you doing?
I'm good, actually, but right now knee-deep in a recount and just trying to make sure that this vote is accurately reported so everybody can have confidence in it.
It's a hard-fought race, and, you know, anybody who fights a race that hard, I want to say congratulations for that effort. Obviously, now you're putting that behind you, and you're focused on what's happening in Georgia. What is going to happen with this manual recount, and how is it going to impact the ultimate tally?
Well, I think the biggest thing is this is the first step toward really what I call voter integrity or ballot integrity. We know now that we're actually going to be able to take the ballot itself and we're actually going to apply it against the count that was done by the machines. And now that's going to give us a look to make sure that, number one, the machines counted accurately. Number two, if there's not, then we're going to see that problematic. But it's also going to give us an opportunity with our observers to say, whoa, that ballot is that's a ballot that shouldn't be counted for various reasons. It gives us a chance to make sure that every legal vote is counted and every illegal vote is crossed out. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not also looking at issues of the ballot possibilities of fraud, absentee ballots that were done wrong, the issue of ballot harvesting. All these things are still out there that we're looking through and looking at the data right now. But right now, it's going to give us an opportunity to put this election in a perspective. And starting as early as tomorrow, you're going to start seeing this hand count, the first of its kind ever here in the state of Georgia.
What is your level of confidence in the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger?
I have a lot of frustrations right now with the Secretary of State. I think it's not just simply this election process, it's been the run up to this election process. One of the things that we have got to start talking about is the fact that in Georgia you have several problems. Number one, there is no voter ID on the actual absentee ballot itself. So once it's separated from the envelope, you don't know where that vote is, whether it was a valid vote or invalid vote. If it gets put into the system, then you can't trace it because of no voter ID on it. That's got to be fixed by the Georgia legislature. Number two, we gave away the signature verifications in many ways when the Secretary of State put together a consent decree with the Democrats, the Stacey Abrams group, to really, in essence, gutted our signature verification process. That's also got to be readdressed as well. Otherwise, we're opening ourselves up for problems in the future. So right now, it's more of a frustration factor. It's more of a frustration saying that stuff of this was known, but yet when it was said, even when they did this, that they really did nothing about it. And then going back to the fact also that the Secretary of State actually sent out a request for ballot to every registered voter in Georgia. I know many people who got actually 2 or 3 requests for ballots, some of them from different addresses because our rolls still reflected them in different parts. Again, that's just another open opportunity for problems. And so that's where I'm frustrated at this point.
You're not the only one frustrated. Senator Perdue, Kelly Loeffler, they issued a joint statement calling for Raffensperger to step down. You know, again, he's a Republican here. How does this help Republicans? I mean, everybody should be all unified, right? Worried about these 2 Senate seats.
Well, I think they are worried about their Senate seats, and I think that's why they talked about it, because the people of Georgia have to have look, especially conservative voters who feel like that right now the president was done wrong, that others were done wrong, that they're going to have to make sure that they'll come back out and vote. So we've got to make sure. That's why we're working on what we're doing to make sure that they understand that they, number one, have to come back out and vote. David Perdue and Senator Loeffler both have to be reelected, because if not, the drastic change in the Senate is something that Georgians and Americans do not want to see, I believe, especially the 70+ million that voted for President Trump. We don't want to see that happen. And also, as we move forward, That's why it's important to have that ballot integrity so that they know they can go cast their ballot and an illegal vote's not going to take it out.
Yeah, you can understand. I mean, again, separate all of the, drama from this situation. You have a very close race, razor thin margin. To get this manual recount, it has to be so close. Why not make sure that the presidential race was done correctly, legitimately, so everybody can vote in these 2 Senate races and have that kind of confidence? It makes sense, right?
And that's what we're doing. We're wanting you to assure that, look, we've done everything we can. Look, I've been at the front lines fighting this battle in Washington, D.C. for several years, fighting for this administration, for this president to be able to carry out his agenda without the attacks from the left. And we've been doing that. I'm going to continue that here to make sure that our ballot is protected. And I believe that benefits the president, but I also believe it benefits our country when you look at the realization that those ballots are so important. And for somebody who's been in the military, somebody who's served for many, many years, look, that's the only thing that's ever drawn us together as a country is that one vote, one person, one vote that we have depended on for so long, and actually to have it count. If we ever lose that, then we have a problem.
Yeah, if we lose faith in our elections process, then we don't really have a republic anymore. It makes things a lot more difficult. Congressman Collins, I was kind of joking around in the previous hour that, my first job ever in television was in Augusta, Georgia. I loved politics, but I moved away from Georgia because the presidential candidates never came, because it wasn't a competitive state back then. What happened?
What happened is I think it's twofold. I think, number one, the Democrats picked up their voter registration process. They picked up their discussion, actual work with getting their voters to the ballot. I think in so many ways, we as Republicans in Georgia didn't do as good a job of actually engaging all sets of voters, not just the voters that typically had an affinity for us. Those are the kind of things going forward that we need to actually get better on. That's why in Congress, I worked on things like criminal justice reform, while we worked on mental health issues, while we worked on the issues that apply to everyday life and safety and security. If we start actually going out and messaging those are the kind of things that can, again, win back these same voters who voted for us so many years. And, again, take Georgia. Georgia's a conservative state at its heart. We just need to continue to remind people of why it got there. Yeah, it's true. It's very conservative, deep red state. Congressman, great to see you. We know you're still working hard up in Congress. We appreciate your time as always. Thanks much. Take care. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the situation in Georgia. Liberals, Democrats telling people to move to Georgia so they can register to vote in these January Senate runoffs. Is it legal? Let's get more now on that from Newsmax national correspondent Logan Raddick, who joined us from Washington. Logan?
Hey, good afternoon, John. The short answer is yes, but any potential voters would have to move to Georgia quickly. The last day to register to vote for the January 5th runoffs is on December 7th, but new residents would have to stay in the state for a while or risk getting into trouble. It's unclear how long that time period is. Immigration to Georgia is one of the Democrats' strategies for shifting the balance of power in the Senate, which hinges on these runoffs.
My family's moving to Georgia probably sometime next week.
Celebrities and politicians on both sides of the aisle, including Vice President Mike Pence, are expected to campaign in Georgia. Florida Senator Marco Rubio says Republican voters must understand how crucial these races are.
This is literally, the showdown of all showdowns in terms of politics and what it means. And we don't want to win one of them. We want to win both of them. We need to win both of them.
Senator Kelly Loeffler, fighting for her political life, says the GOP has momentum in her state.
So you may have heard, now we take Georgia, then we change America. Well, you know what? That's right. No way. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, you're not going to take Georgia. It's ours.
Both conservative and liberal groups are announcing major fundraising efforts in Georgia. Conservative Super PAC Club for Growth Action says it will spend at least $10 million there. And the liberal organization Fair Fight, founded by former gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, has raised almost that same amount of money since Friday.
Investment makes a difference because it signals a belief in the capacity of voters to actually make choices when they know those choices are real. We have seen progress being made.
Senator Lindsey Graham from the neighboring state of South Carolina is sending $1 million of his campaign funds to the Loeffler and Perdue campaigns. And with the potential influx of new residents, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is declining to back fellow Republicans in their push to tighten the state's voting rules ahead of the runoffs. And one of the most prominent Democrats planning to move to Georgia is former presidential candidate Andrew Yang, but he did not say whether he'll register to vote in the Peach State. John.
All right, Logan, thanks so much. Great to see you as always. Now, have you ever wondered what would happen if your city defunded the police department? One Portland city commissioner found out the hard way. We're going to talk to Michelle Malkin about what happens after the defunding the police movement comes to your community. Michelle's been warning us about this for years. We'll have an update on that next.